Hello and welcome to my channel. My name is Angela and I am a self-taught digital artist, and this is the art of becoming an artist. Today I wanted to start going over some of the rendering practice that I did, where I started to create the sketch of my subject, wanted to even out everything, make sure it looked good, and then I started laying on the colors from what I could see most, which was the lighter colors to the darker shades, and then I moved on to the hair. I tried to kind of work fast through these different pieces because if I take my time I kind of hyper fixate a little bit and I get too much into the details, and you'll see that a little bit later. I got a little crazy towards the end. I am proud of pieces of this piece as you kind of go through and see my progress. You can see, like, right now the hair looks really good in my opinion, but I took it a little too far as I kept moving on. I do eventually notice that the eyes that I put here are way too big. I kind of switched the horizontal view back and forth, flipping it so that I could see, what was uneven and what wasn't. I did have some trouble getting the face shape right, and then I couldn't focus on one area at a time because I kept getting frustrated. So I worked on the hair some more, tried to decide if I wanted to put a shoulder there and removed it. Then right here you can see I'm trying to get into the tiny little details and focusing too much on the shades. And I don't want to focus too much on hyper realism, but it tends to be where my brain goes. So instead of being able to take a step back, which is what I'm trying to do here by just covering over a lot of the rendering I already did, I'll fixate on these tiny little colors every single inch. So this was my attempt to kind of take a step back, just do maybe 3 or 4 specific colors. You can see here I kind of got back into hyperfixating on the details again and trying to put a little bit too much color. So I decided to start on the highlights and put them in, maybe move on to the shoulder so that I wasn't fixating too much on everything else. And then I got frustrated and I just threw on a background, and it was a lot, and I'm not necessarily happy with the final product. I'm not unhappy with it, but it definitely wasn't where I was going. I try to have at least one completed piece a day, whether it's good or not as an end result. I try to at least work through and finish one piece a day so that I feel like I am fully practicing the different things that I learned in that day. I did work on practicing figures and movements and proportions, specifically proportions, this week, just because I watched some videos on YouTube that outlined some of the comparisons between different body parts that help explain ratios. For instance, the length of your body should be 8 heads long. I love those little comparisons. The fact that you can fit the length of one of your eyes between your eyes, different things like that. So I've been working on trying to learn all those proportions, and I can make a video of those and outline those if you're interested, for sure. Here at the end, I take the measurement of the head and I bring it down and look into that ratio comparison to see if I can fit 8 heads down the length of his body, and I definitely can't, which means what happened is what usually happens for me is that the legs are too short and or the head is too big. So I know that those are adjustments that I really have to pay attention to, and usually I'm pretty good when I notice that the next time I draw I can compensate for those issues pretty well. What I decided to do next was pull some reference images and examine the movement of the body, where the shoulders are, outline where the feet are. I would try to draw the image next to my reference, and then I would, for some of them, finish them fully and then take that image and move it over on top of my reference image to compare and see what I might have gotten right, what I might have gotten wrong, what it might need to be changed. So it was a lot of good practice in repetition and examining the proportions of the body. And then I tried to draw it one more time while looking at the reference, and then I got some good practice by also trying to draw it after the fact without the reference. What I love about this process is all of the learning that I'm getting as I'm examining everything back that I was working on. And then of course I would have a final piece after that where I would just practice making something of my own. which is what you can see here. I decided I wanted to try to make my own character. So I just started off with a face. I had done some studies of some different expressions and some eyes, some hair, things like that. And I decided to just put that together along with my study of proportions and see if I could just create a character. And I think it turned out okay in the end. It wasn't perfect. I did have to shrink down her head at one point because I made it too big. But I was proud of this result as well, and I definitely need work, but I can definitely see improvement. And I appreciate you joining me on this journey, and I hope you learn from me as well as I take in the process of learning my art and the different things that I am taking a look at as I go through and reevaluate how I'm seeing things and how I'm approaching things and what proportions to look at. So as I continue on this journey, I hope you continue to join me and follow me. Hit the subscribe button. I'd love to have you continue on with me. Thanks so much, and I'll see you in the next one.